Every time you take a survey, your answers go somewhere. And a lot of you have asked me if it's even safe to take surveys. So in this video, I will explain where that data actually goes. I will also get into a frustrating pattern almost everyone runs into sooner or later, and a real scam you also need to be aware of if you want to take surveys. So let's start by talking about what actually happens once you submit a survey. Because legit survey panels, they are quite transparent usually about this if you just look for it. So in practice, your answers, they will get linked to your account and that will be then stored with your survey history. But the company does not actually sell your name attached to your exact answers to outside companies. What actually gets used and sold, that's the combined data, which means your answers, they get grouped together with thousands of other people's answers. And companies operating in, for example, the US or EU, they have to follow disclosure rules under things like, for example, the GDPR and the CCPA. That means just laws that require them to tell you what data they collect and how it gets used. And this is usually how your data is used. But why do companies actually want this data in the first place? Because that's also something many people ask me, because it can be a little bit confusing. But it is because that combined data that tells them things like, for example, which products people actually prefer or what price feels fair to charge for something new. It can also even be governments that want to know about some initiatives. So in general, it is to get more knowledge about the markets or the consumers, and that is worth real money to them when they are making decisions about, for example, what to sell and how to sell it. And that is also why they are willing to pay you for your opinion. So if you use legit survey sites, it is in general safe. We will talk more about later how to avoid the scams, but all this does not mean that it cannot sometimes be frustrating to take surveys. So let's talk a bit more about this next. If you have used survey sites for a while, you have probably run into this issue. For example, you answer question after question, and right when you think you are almost done, you get disqualified. I have experienced this myself, and sometimes it happens after just 5 minutes, which is frustrating enough. But other times I have gotten 15 minutes into a survey and answered all kinds of questions and then suddenly got disqualified. So that meant that I tried to actually get disqualified when I was around 80 or 90% through a survey. Luckily, this does not happen to me that often because I usually get filtered out earlier if I do not qualify. But when it does happen, it is extremely frustrating, and I hear this exact complaint from my audience all the time too. And there are different theories about why this happens. I have heard that some people in the industry believe that certain partners let this go on longer than needed just to collect free data, or that some platforms simply are just poor at filtering and matching surveys. No matter the reason, it can definitely be very frustrating as a survey taker. So what can you actually do about it? Well, the first thing I would suggest is that you report it to the panel when it happens. So if you're on a specific server side and this happens, then usually there's also a way to report it. But to be honest, usually nothing visible will change from this, but it is quite easy to do and flag it. And if enough people do it, it might change something eventually, or maybe that server side will stop working with the partner if a specific partner keep doing this. Also, over time, I suggest that you keep track of which providers that keeps doing this and then just stop taking surveys from those. That is a part of how I have also optimized that. There are just certain partners that say, okay, this is just not a good partner for me, or they keep letting you take surveys for a long time before disqualifying, and then I just don't focus on those. Now let's talk about the actually scam side of this, because it is different from just getting disqualified, because sometimes it's simply a fake survey site itself. I have tested a lot of these scam websites and apps myself over the years, and I've also warned against many here on my channel and on my website paidfromservice.com, and it is usually pretty clear once you look closely, because the claims are often very unrealistic on sites and apps like this. Other times it is not the platform itself, yourself, but what happens after a scam platform gets your information. For example, they might sell your data and then you start getting emails that make it look like you have already earned a big amount of money on their platform when you've actually not maybe even used it yet. And then they just need you to do one more thing, for example, or take one more survey or pay one small fee to unlock some kind of unrealistic amount that you've not even done anything to actually earn. And I have seen a lot of this pattern myself. So the red flags to look out for are if they request sensitive information you would normally not give a survey company, or vague or missing information or about who is actually behind the survey, if they use some kind of sense of urgency, or if you are asked to pay a fee to unlock a claim or reward. Or I've also seen that sometimes a specific site might force you to invite others before you can unlock your earnings, and that is definitely a clear warning sign. I've never seen a legit service site where they force you to invite others. I also do have a full article about spotting service scams on my website, so I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to go deeper into this. So one more thing I want to talk about is a mistake I see many people make, and it can mean that you end up not getting paid even if you are using legit service sites. And I've actually seen a poor advice repeated everywhere online about this, and that is to use a separate dedicated email address just for service sites. And that might sound like a great idea because it can be a way to keep things separate, but it can actually also lead to you not getting paid if you just blindly follow this advice. Because if you get paid through PayPal, on most sites, your payout will just automatically go to whatever email you signed up to that survey platform with. So if you, for example, set up a fully separate email that is not connected to your PayPal account, then you risk missing a payment. So if you want a separate email address just for surveys, then make sure to add that dedicated email as a secondary email on your existing PayPal account. And that way you can still get the organization benefits, but without the risk, and make sure that if you earn anything that it will still go into your PayPal account if that is the payout method you're using. But if you do this, then there's one more thing to keep in mind, and that is if you do use a separate inbox, then make sure to check it regularly, because if you just have it there and it is an inbox you barely open, then you might miss out on survey invitations. And the fact is just that speed matters if you want to qualify for the better paying surveys. So just keep this in mind. And in general, if the disqualification thing happens to you a lot, if you have tried it, or if you've gotten one of the scam emails or tried one of the scam platforms yourself, then please share your experiences in the comments. I love hearing about your experiences as well. And if you have any questions, also just ask. I reply to every single comment. So overall, legit survey panels, they do handle your data responsibly. Of course, you do have to share certain things about yourself, but if it's a legit site, they usually keep it safe and anonymous. But there are also real scams out there. But now you know exactly what to look for, so you can protect yourself and make sure you only use the legit and safe sites. And as mentioned, if you want to know more about how to spot service scams, I have a full guide about that on my website. I will leave a link to that below. Also, if you want to know more about how to increase your chances of qualifying for service in general in a legit way, then I also have a guide about that on my website. I will also leave a link to that below so you can check that out. And finally, if this video helped you, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out next time I release a video with tips and tricks about different ways to make money online.